How's everybody doing tonight? Welcome to Cup of Joe with Joe live. Yes, I am here. I am live. A little rougher than usual. Sorry I missed you guys last week. Life throws curves our way, and sometimes we have to adapt. So I'm wearing my Idaho. I lived here before it was cool. Yes, I did. So, how's everybody doing today? We got a couple topics. How you doing, James? Love you. Love you. Thanks for showing up. So, a couple topics I want to cover today. One is cobalt mining in the state of Idaho. Yes, cobalt mining in America. Let's call it what it is. This is cobalt mining in America. This is one of the first times, you know, it's not the first time we've actually mined cobalt in the United States because we're actually reopening a cobalt mine. That is what we are doing. We are in the process of reopening a former cobalt mine here in the state of Idaho. Now, let's go ahead and talk about some of the other implications because Idaho is in the news. Um, yeah, ironically, of all things. So we got cobalt mining in the state of Idaho. Yes, we do. Number two, Snake River dams. Army Corps of Engineers looking at blowing a few of those things up. Why? Salmon runs. Nuclear Armageddon. This is a particular interest. Reason why is because the Netherlands, of all places, the Netherlands actually came out with a report on white supremacists, extreme right in the state of Idaho. I mean, how bad is it when the Dutch come after you for your white supremacy? Which is interesting because nuclear Armageddon over Ukraine and Russia, both of which have become notorious for alt-right and white supremacist actions, ethnic cleansings, and so many other things over the last couple of months or years in some cases. Been dealing with ethnic cleansing in the Ukraine since 2014 when the US helped facilitate, yes. Then, of course, we get to come back to marijuana, medical marijuana. We are down to one of four states, Idaho, one of four states in which there are no, count that, no concessions for medical marijuana. For that matter, very few concessions regarding, 250 years in America. It's a long time. Okay, medical marijuana in the state of Idaho. We were one of the last states for Kind Idaho. This is an organization I'm actually associated with, familiar with. So I'm going to go ahead and pitch it. Why? Because we do not have what I consider medical choice in the state of Idaho. We do not have a choice in our medicine. We do not have the choice to say, Doc, I think this is good for me. Should I try it? No, you don't have that choice in the state of Idaho. The state legislature has decided they know what's best for you. And if you decide that medical marijuana is best for you, yeah, James, I know there are people who have to do that for good reason. Move to a legal state, use it when you need it, use it as you need it. How you doing, cheese sandwich? Whoever you are, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it. Okay, but Idaho, medical marijuana. We do not have that choice. If you want to use medical marijuana in the state of Idaho, you go to prison if you are caught. Well, and truth is, James, that's really what it comes down to. If you were using it for reasons, specific reasons, to deal with medical issues, post-traumatic stress, number of reasons. I know a number of individuals who are domestic violence and sexual assault survivors, who use it on the regular because it works for them when nothing else does. And then they get in trouble for using it. Thing that works, that gets them through. Better than Xanax and wine moms? Yes, yes, it is. Weed moms, they are a thing because it does relieve stress. Unfortunately, it still comes with a certain stigma in many states in the United States, in which, thank you, Lana, appreciate it. Marijuana use still comes with a stigma in which, in many states, even where it is legal, even where you are authorized, even with a medical marijuana card, simply being in possession of a medical marijuana card in states like Oregon and Washington and several others is justification for child protective services and family services to come in and take your children. Yeah. How's that? Drinking beer in public. That actually causes a number of different other issues, James, which, you and I best not get into right now. And thank you, Lana. We do appreciate that. Those of us here at KRTD like, share, love, let people know about what's going on in the rest of the world. Independent opinions and reports from around the world, around the United States. That really is what this is. This is my vlog, focusing on issues, surprisingly, that affect the world through Idaho. Medical marijuana, medical choice in the state of Idaho. So this weekend, we actually start again for the next election cycle, collecting petitions for the Citizens Initiative in the state of Idaho in order to legalize medical marijuana, start the process of informed medical choice, using marijuana specifically for medical reasons to help relieve symptoms of issues, social, mental, physical, of which medical marijuana is a proven beneficial use. Smoke more, be happy. For those of you who don't like smoke, there's edibles. We even got people out there working on cannabis beer. Yes, yes, we are. James, we're whoop. When driving their own car, yes, that causes issues, health issues, gasoline issues. I'm guilty. Won't lie. I don't take time to find people who are working with me. Yeah, James, no, cannabis beer, 2014. It's been around a while. But yeah, so Kind Idaho, for those of you who are paying attention, uh, go ahead and chip that out. kindidaho.org. Image product. Interesting. Okay, kindidaho.org. That is the organization here in the state of Idaho that is working on legalizing medical marijuana. Yeah, olive oil. Got it. I'm not going to get too much into the details of using cannabis flower instead of hops for your beer. That's for brewers. It's for cannabis aficionados. Not what I'm going to do today. So, now that we've covered the issues of medical choice, medical marijuana, and the use of it in the state of Idaho, let's move on to another issue. Cobalt mining in the state. Reason why is because we are dealing with embargoes. Yes, embargoes. Believe it or not, China is saying that they aren't going to sell us certain kinds of rare earth minerals, of which cobalt happens to be one. So, what are we doing? We're reopening mines that we closed back in the 1970s because of environmental reasons. This is one of those things that's really interesting about the concepts of environmentalism versus conservationism. Are we looking to protect the environment or are we looking to conserve resources? Now, a lot of the things that have benefited conservationism because of environmentalism is that a lot of the resources and strategic reserves in the United States have been preserved. Okay. We have not been mining cobalt in the state here in the United States. We have not been mining rare earth minerals. We have not been mining lithium. All of these are things that we have intentionally and deliberately gone in and bought for pennies on the dollar from other nations. Lithium mines down in Brazil, cobalt mines in uh, China. One of the reasons why we thought we were going to do so well in Afghanistan was because it was mineral rich. There were an awful lot of these rare earth minerals that we thought we were going to be able to get it, except we never got around to actually mining the country and, pulling those resources out. Here we are. That's the point. It's all about the environment until you can't buy everything you need from somewhere else. Democratic Republic of Congo, another place that's been mineral rich that we've been exploiting. We've been buying rare earth minerals on the cheap from other nations rather than, actually paying fair market value in order to ethically harvest them from the earth here in the United States. Now, this is particularly interesting. Reason why is because that cobalt mine is actually at the headwaters of the Snake River. Remember me mentioning earlier the Snake River, the idea that the Army Corps of Engineers and the environmentalists were going to go in and blow all the dams along the Snake River in order to facilitate salmon runs, increase the biodiversity in our rivers and streams here in the Pacific Northwest. Now we have a cobalt mine that was closed for environmental reasons, opening up at the headwaters of the Snake River, Columbia River, and of course, all of the aquifers down underneath all of those rivers. Yeah, we got troops in too many countries, and now all of those countries are saying stop sending troops or we'll stop sending goods. Or maybe we just don't keep killing the people who are supposed to be harvesting the stuff that we're there to protect. Yeah, it's convoluted, and it will continue to escape us because we do not participate in what we call free trade agreements globally. We coerce advantageous trade agreements rather than fair trade everywhere we go around the globe. 190 countries, 150 of them have U.S. troops in them of some kind. We are allies. We are enemies. We are occupiers in many of those countries, and we take from those countries what we want, like every good colonizer ever has. Yeah, I know. Indigenous Day, 3 days ago, Columbus Day, and here we are. We're talking about colonizers, the way we have perpetuated the colonizer mentality by sending U.S. troops to every corner of the world in order to strip it of resources so that we can operate the United States more environmentally friendly. Never mind the damage that we're doing to the global ecosystem in the process. And by ecosystem, I do mean both economic and ecological. So here we are. We are reduced to mining. Yes, mining. Yeah, trade agreements that don't end up with those providing the U.S. with goods. Yeah. Military industrial complex, including electric batteries for electric Hummers, electric scout bikes, so that we can drive around the country killing people quietly. I don't know. Once those guns go off, nothing's quiet about gunfire, regardless of what they're mounted on. Anyway, sort of beside the point. You got me straying, James. You got me straying from the topic. Hey, free trade agreement. The idea that finally, after 50 years of environmentalism, we're getting around to the purpose why conservationists set certain areas of the United States off limits for exploitation, mainly mining. Yes, and mind your own business. We're in a situation right now. If you own land and it's got minerals under it, you actually have mineral rights. However, state of Idaho, some of the biggest mountains we got are all on federal land. And because of our need, because our supply is being cut off by China and Democratic Congo of Africa, and Afghanistan's no longer safe for us to be operating, rare earth mineral mines in. We now have to look at what, oh, dude, that's, yeah, let's not go there, James. Now, one of the interesting things is I got some friends who, used to do heavy mining, strip mining arrangements like that. Now, that cobalt mine, when it was shut down 20, 30 years ago, or however long it was, um, there was an awful lot of waste ore, a lot of waste that came out of that mine. Why? Because a lot of the rare earth minerals that came out with the cobalt, we didn't know what to do with at the time. Okay. Yeah, there are a lot of Afghan mineral mines, a lot. Um, are mineral mines in Afghan? Yeah. But yes, there are a lot of mineral mines in Afghanistan. Not necessarily ours because we gave them all back over to the Taliban. Yeah, we did that. One of the things we're looking at with regards to the mineral mines, cobalt mines here in the state of Idaho, a lot of the waste from cobalt mines and certain other mines, 20, 30 years ago, because we didn't know what we could do with those rare earth minerals at the time. We didn't know some of those rare earth minerals that we were pulling up with something like cobalt allow us to create touch screens for our phones and our laptops and our computers. Certain other rare earth minerals, like, now we got use of lithium for lithium batteries. We got cobalt, used to not be a major component of batteries, which now it is. We got the cobalt batteries, and that's the reason why we're opening it back up. For electric vehicles, we are reopening a cobalt mine at the headwaters of the Columbia River so that we can poison everything downstream in order to make sure that we have batteries for electric vehicles, that our electrical grid infrastructure is incapable of supporting powering on every night. I don't know, folks. Sounds like that might be a little bit screwy. Like, we may not have anything actually going on there. It's advantageous to us yet. We're in the process of subsidizing energy. We're in the process of subsidizing power developments that still have not crossed over the crossover point where they're actually cost effective, where they are economically and ecologically sound. Thank you, Amberly. Definitely appreciate it. Um, Hydroelectric. It's one of the few clean things, and this is an interesting thing. Reason why is because we have an awful lot of people that are looking at blowing up dams along the Snake River, along the Columbia River. These are hydroelectric dams. They are clean, probably some of the cleanest energy we got, and it actually uses the natural cycle of water, evaporate from the ocean, bring it over the land, drop it down, and the earth provides that clean energy. It is a renewable. As long as we keep dropping water in places where it ends up upstream from these hydroelectric turbines, generators, we have clean energy. Nature provides us probably one of the most effective gravity batteries ever created, because water moving down turns the turbine, creates water. Water mills, windmills, some of our earliest forms of being able to use our engineering experience, knowledge, feats in order to create free energy in perpetuity so that we can continue doing something without consistently putting in human labor into the process. Dutch had windmills. Oh, let me get back to the Dutch. Netherlands, we're going to talk nuclear war a little bit later. But here we are. So they're talking about blowing up clean energy for biodiversity. And yes, 40 acres and a mule, get your mule. Going to be cleaner energy than that cobalt mining upstream of so many places. And the reason why is because those headwaters, if that mining is done the way mining used to be done 50 years ago, or even the way that mining is currently being done in China or Afghanistan or the Congo, everything downstream is going to turn into wasteland. Now they say they're going to subsidize the mine so that the mine is still able to be profitable while operating in an ecologically friendly manner, to withdraw all of that cobalt out of the earth to make batteries for those electric vehicles. Yeah, well, Europe needs to be less dependent on Russian energy. Well, I mean, the truth is we spend an inordinate amount of resources creating energy. What are we using the energy for? Imperialism, money, data transfer, big buildings, empires. What are we really doing with all of that energy that we create? What are we doing with all that energy that we use? You take a look at places like Texas and California right now. Energy consumption during certain times of the year are actually higher than energy production capability. You know, working with solar power, working with solar panels, working with people who are upset because when the solar company went in to install their system, they didn't install it as good as they were told it was going to be. Yeah, we could only finance half the system that we promised you, half the capability we promised you. It's going to be interesting, actually see now that cobalt mine that's sitting over in eastern Idaho, headwaters of the Snake that feed into the Columbia, that's going to poison the ocean. They say they expect about a 7-year run out of it before they exhaust the cobalt. Now, the interesting thing when it comes, nothing for free in America, never is, never is. Um, one of the things about reopening mines, and hey, Dolores, glad to see you. Thanks for stopping by. Miss you, man. Miss you. Miss you so much. I'm glad. I hope things are going good for you. Hope things are working out where you're at with what you're doing. Um, so one of the things that we start looking at with regards to mining in Idaho. Now, for those of you with a certain amount of geological experience, The mountains in Idaho, they're wilderness areas. They've been preserved. We've not operated mines. We've not operated coal mines. There are a lot of natural resources that are buried under the mountains in Idaho. Once we shut down silver mining, once we shut down gold mining, once we shut down some of those that at the time were not cost effective rare earth mineral mines, um, we shut down a lot of the capacity here in the United States. Yeah, and it's going to poison rivers, it's going to poison oceans. You know, um, yeah, it's going to be bad, James. So, one of the things that we look at with regards to all of that conservation is 200 years, 100 years, 150 years of untouched resources here in the state of Idaho, ready and waiting for that time when America needs those strategic reserves. Like now, because we've managed to piss off enough allies and free trade partners that we are the ones being embargoed. We are the ones being sanctioned. We are the ones being divested from. Boycott, divest, sanction, BDS. Okay, it used to be that was a nasty word when we talked about the U.S. doing it to Israel. Boycott, divest, sanction. Things that were economic warfare. Yes, economic warfare. Boycott, divest, sanction. It's one of those things we've done to other countries. We've done it to Cuba. We made it illegal to trade with Cuba, effectively legislating away free trade. We federally instituted boycott, divest, sanction of Cuba. We're in the process of doing that with, oh, hey, sound alerts. Yeah, we trade Tobajuk. Uh, you know, we're doing the same thing with China right now. Well, not so much China, but China's doing it to us. But we did it to Russia. We've done it to Cuba. For a while we were doing it to Afghanistan. We continue to do an awful lot of these things with regards to issues on the left and right. Boycott, divest, sanction. We made it illegal in some states to even talk about the idea of a boycott, divest, sanction with regards to apartheid countries like South Africa, and Israel. Yeah, left talking about that. China, of course, China isn't doing anything to America right now. We're dealing with that. These are issues that we continue to work with and deal with. So, okay, you have to deal with that. Now, in the meantime, people are actually talking, other nations, 190 nations around the world are actually looking at the US and talking boycott, divest, sanction the United States. We aren't. It's news to me. Idaho just got into a 2-year trade agreement with wheat to Taiwan in exchange for, believe it or not, we actually train Taiwanese jet pilots here at Gowan Field here in the state of Idaho. We got some F-16 pilots. We do some training out here. Yeah, believe it or not. Yes, yes, yes. We train combat pilots here outside of Boise from all around the world. Taiwan, Saudi Arabia, Ukraine. Yes, they come here and they learn how to fly combat missions in U.S. aircraft. Didn't know Idaho was so prominent on the foreign policy things, did ya? Yeah, Panama. I have no idea what you said. So, patriotism, religion of the rabid. It is. It is. Nationalism, patriotism, whatever you want to call it, that's what it is. That is the core of who we are, what we do, why we do the things we do, whether they're good or bad. God, you guys are awesome. Jimmy must be doing bang up job over on Twitch. Um, Either that or this isn't the KRTD Twitch channel. Love you guys. You guys are all piling in here. Um, Thank you, Jimmy's audience. Love you guys. Appreciate the effort. Love seeing you guys. Truth or wrong? Let's go ahead and take a look at what you got here. Yeah, move out all bases right on China's head that aren't in the Philippines or other sovereign territory. Okay, sovereign territory. That means we have a sovereign agreement with them. Yeah. Taiwan was an American base before we converted it over to Taiwan because we decided to give mainland China over to Mao and his friends. Yeah. Jimmy, no, damn it. Extra bowl. You got me. Jimmy, yes. She nailed it. Me using her channel. Yeah. Love you guys. Thank you all for showing up. Appreciate it. Don't know what it is you guys all got going on. Yeah, Sandy in the chat gang. Absolutely. But yeah, Twitch knocking it out of the park, folks. Love you guys. Awesome. Jimmy will actually be coming on right after me, I believe. I'm not sure what her new schedule is. Who's Crimea River? Yes, we're definitely Crimea River. Let's talk about that. Hello, what's up? So we're talking about nuclear war. Okay. Russia's talked about nuclear repercussions for attacking Russian targets. Whether that was done by the US or the Ukraine, Putin has actually talked about using nukes. President Biden has actually talked about the possibility of nuclear Armageddon, the idea of nukes in response to nukes, mutually assured destruction, all of those things. Don't know who you're talking to, Votia. Appreciate it, though. We actually got enough coastals that, if Poseidon were to truly take care of it, Hawaii would be up. There's a couple other coastal facilities, U.S. Navy bases, Marine bases. Yeah. No, the thing is Crimea actually belongs to the Crimeans. It was a Russian naval facility. A lot of Russians moved in there to help facilitate, its navy. Russians moved in with their family. Some of them decided to stay. Yeah. And that's an interesting topic. Does Russia have a first strike rule? No, they don't. Only the United States has a first strike rule. I'm not Jimmy Valtia. Yeah, the idea of the Philippines, let's talk about this here, truth or wrong. Philippines and the rest of the Pacific nations need to have their own navies to stick a boot up China's ass when they pull anything in the South Asia Sea, and the U.S. should largely withdraw. Okay, now what this is it's competition between, thanks, Extra Bowl, appreciate that. So back to this issue with the Pacific nations and their own navies. Okay, this is the idea of occupying empires. Our the big argument is you can't have the United States leave one of its colonies because the second it leaves the colony, it's going to be replaced by military from a different empire. Okay. Are you actually looking at the Chinese empire? Are you looking at, one of the other new empires that are developing as a result of, Chinese empire, Russian empire, a resurgence of NATO, the Western European Empire, you know, Holy Roman, Holy European, whatever they decide to come up with. Uh, the Indian Empire. Let's talk about the concept of a potential Indian empire. India, China, Russia, US. We represent NATO. In concept, those are the powers. These are the multipolar, polypolar, however you want to phrase it, powers that currently exercise influence over the global stage. Um, and no, they shouldn't. Absolutely not. The idea of empire comes with homogenization. Everybody in the empire ends up looking the same, acting the same, being the same, because the only way for the empire to function is for everybody to operate in the same institutional form, which is why global global homogenization through any empire is ultimately bad. Because when you look at empire policy always comes out as one universal policy for all places, all times, all things. It removes ingenuity. It removes economic responsibility for regions. Because now you have a universal environmental policy that doesn't work in certain areas. You are not going to use the same environmental policy in the Philippines that you use in the Pacific Northwest or in the state of Idaho or up along any of these, the Himalayas. You don't. So the idea of a global homogeny, global empire with universal policies is damaging because it doesn't allow for innovation. It doesn't allow for creation. It doesn't allow for adaptation, environmental adaptation, because everybody becomes the same. That's why empires as a concept is such a bad idea, and why we as a global community could look to building different relationships independent of the violence of the empire, independent of the violence of the state. Yes, we're going to get into that. One world government and Kafka. Yeah. Yeah. What's the difference between a federation versus a one world government versus a lot of it has to do with the violence of the empire, the violence of the state. Are we looking at a one world government or a no world government? And is it possible to create a global community without a state mechanism controlling the interactions of all the communities on the planet? These are theories that we look at. These are theories and ideas. Unfortunately, at the moment, most of our global empires are run by sociopaths who can't get along with anybody unless those people conform, comply, or die. Yeah, and that's an argument. They sold it. Ray Bradbury, he sold Star Trek, the Federation of Planets, Earth, one world government, as part of the Federation of Planets. What were we? What are we? How do we begin? Yeah, truth's wrong. We're talking about massive decentralization. Uh, AI as a consultative, interesting concept. We have to explore that as we start looking into things like transhumanism. The idea of the implants. I know I don't want Elon's implants because Elon is an authoritarian statist and I don't want anything he's touched in my head. But the idea does exist. Massive decentralization through AI. The idea of actually being able to use some of the AI concepts that we see so often these days. Halo as an AI concept. Ghost in the Machine. It's not like these are strange concept stuff. Dude, you guys in Russian, what's with the Cyrillic, man? I can't read that stuff. You know, the auditors, it's an interesting concept. We actually have a lot of automation right now. It's not on the AI level, but we do automate an awful lot of stuff to help facilitate and process information. Agreed, Sandy. Agreed. So start taking a look at what these options represent, what our future represents. Okay, nuclear war with Russia. We need to do everything to avoid it. The reason why is because once Russia takes that step, blockchain, interesting. Once Russia takes the step as far as military action, use of nuclear weapons, okay, now this comes down to who's actually going to do first strike. US has never had any qualms about first strike use of literally anything. We've always been willing to escalate above and beyond what was needed to be effective. Nuclear weapons, Hiroshima and Nagasaki. We continually operate on this idea of might makes right here in the United States. So when it comes down to it, who's actually going to be the first to fire off a nuke? Who's going to start nuclear World War III? Will it be the Russians, or will it be somebody in the United States with a preemptive strike? The defensive first strike. Dude, we could have de-escalated so many times before then. So many times before then. Here we are. Take a look at what it is for de-escalation. Which empire is it that's actually going to start World War III? And we continue to see the escalations. We continue to see the talks. We continue to see interesting things develop. We talk about, well, who's in the right? Are Ukrainians in the right? Are the Russians in the right? Well, nobody who uses violence against another people for any reason unless it's defensive, is in the right. And arguably, both Ukrainians and the Russians are currently fighting a just war, depending on who is being attacked at what time, simply because of how far back the history between Ukrainians and Russia goes. It goes clear back to 1918, 1930s, Stalin and the Holodomor. There are people who are still alive in the United States, still alive in Idaho, who fled Ukraine back in 1920s when Stalin had taken over and started the Holodomor by delanding all of the Ukrainian farmers. So who's right, who's wrong? Whose version of ethnic cleansing is acceptable at this stage? Most of us who are pacifists, most of us who are peace, are going, yeah, well, nobody's clean right now. So how about everybody break it off, step back into your corners and try and figure out what you actually own, what you have, what you can preserve, and decide that maybe cooperation between communities, accepting guest rights, dealing in fairness, fair trade, in such a way so that everybody benefits rather than continuing to use the threat of violence in order to get things that, oh, yeah, you didn't earn. Yeah. That's a lie. The CIA has been building for how long? There's an argument right now that Ukraine had weapons of mass destruction in it, bioweapons, no less. Some of the research that we saw come out of China actually started in Ukraine. gain of function experiments in medical laboratories owned by companies with US politicians' sons sitting on the boards. Yeah, like that doesn't sound completely and totally screwy. Okay. It's 46 minutes, folks. I want to go ahead and wrap this up. Reason why is because I do believe Jimmy does have a show after this. I want to make sure her and what's up get moving on it. Okay. And yes, I absolutely agree, cheese sandwich. We definitely need to be staying out of the Ukraine. US never should have been in there 2014 when we assisted with the Molodon revolution. And we turned around and installed one of the most corrupt governments ever in the world. Hard to believe that, right? Yeah, we move weapons in and out unregulated all the time. Serious problem. Dude, tripping down conspiracy theory. Unfortunately, I think it's one of those conspiracy theories that has more or less been proven right, considering an awful lot of the weapons of mass destruction, biowarfare experiments did continue. Post World War II, post World War One, continue to see an awful lot of that. And it's not just the German scientists post World War II that got moved into the United States in order to continue their experiments. But yeah, as far as 731, don't necessarily know whether or not that is indeed a thing, or whether that's just a code name for what did happen. I think Operation Paperclip is what an awful lot of the conspiracy theories here in the United States actually refer to it as. So remember, folks, no nuclear war. If you're Russian, if you're Ukrainian, if you're US, we do not want war, nuclear war, World War III, because World War IV will be fought with sticks and stones. A lot of us like our tech, folks. A lot of us like our tech a lot. Some of us probably too much, considering how badly we need things. Okay. Cobalt mining and rare earth minerals. We're actually opening up those mines back in the US again. Remember, folks, got to get dark money. Yep, Chris, dark money. Get it out before the brown shirt dictatorship, whichever party it is. I don't know. Red fash, blue fash, one fash, two fash. All the same. Love you, Extra Bowl. Glad you were actually able to catch most of it tonight. That would be an interesting concept, true Sarong. The idea of the AIs running World War IV or even running World War II is within the realm of possibility. I believe they actually did a Star Trek on that. Yeah. And nuclear war would be the stupid. Doesn't mean we haven't done stupid things before. Doesn't mean we won't do stupid things in the future. Hopefully nothing that stupid. Still, it's where we're at. So, nuclear war, stay out of it. Rare earth mining in the United States, specifically in the state of Idaho, as well as the toxic environments that can be created for that in major population centers downstream. Reason why is because everything that comes out of the Columbia River headwaters goes down the Columbia, poisons everything down, and then the coastal streams actually come in from Alaska, bringing all that cold water down towards California. Will end up being poisoning coastal life all down the West Coast. All down the West Coast. It's one of those reasons everybody who's paying attention to what is going on with regards to ecological environmentalism and conservationism needs to pay attention to what's going on in the state of Idaho with regards to the new mining industries that are being opened back up in order to produce these rare earth minerals for United States industry. All of these fun toys that we love so much. Take care of the environment. Okay. Dams, they're clean energy. Unless you can find a way to replace the power cleanly that those dams produced, blowing those dams just creates a further strain on our energy grid. We need to be careful what's going on with those. Medical marijuana. Medical choice, folks. Take care of your family, take care of your friends, take care of your neighbors. Whether you use it or not, somebody you know does. And somebody you know, that medical marijuana is the best thing for them. So much better than anything PharmaCore is currently offering. Take care of your family, friends, and neighbors. Give them medical choice. Okay. Going back to mining with hammers. Absolutely. Not for profit. Love you guys. Thank you all for joining us. Thank Jimmy for letting me borrow her Twitch audience. You guys, a bang up. Love you guys. Take care. All of humanity, dude, the earth will recover in 10 years with the elimination of humanity. Unfortunate truth, but that's where it is. James, we're working on it. We're currently doing the Kerberos News, trying to make sure that we understand the entire network. We have a Twitter feed, we have a Twitch feed, we have the YouTube feeds, and of course we have the Facebook feeds. Okay, and a lot of this stuff goes onto the website. It gets stored, maintained, produced, so you can keep coming back to it. And I think some of our providers, some of our talking heads, yes, a talking head, actually have Patreon accounts where a lot of this stuff gets stored as well, in case you want additional content. Love you guys. Family, friends, community. As long as you got those three, you can make anything happen. Take care of yourself, loves. Be kind.